You are not poor because you lack opportunities. You are poor because you quit right before victory had the chance to arrive. Machiavelli once wrote, "A ruler loses his throne not because the enemy is stronger, but because he runs away before the rain falls." On the battlefield of power, the survivor is not the one who starts the fastest, but the one ruthless enough to stay the longest. Picture this, a fortress under siege. The armory is full, provisions enough for the entire winter. Yet when the first arrow whistles through the air, the soldiers open the gates and flee. They do not die from a lack of resources, but from a lack of endurance. Now be honest. How many times have you abandoned a job, a project, or a relationship simply because it began to get difficult? How many times have you changed direction, hoping the new road would be easier, only to realize every sea has storms and every ship has leaks? If you quit today, where will you be in 5 years? And when that day comes, looking back, will you be able to face yourself? I used to be that person. At 22, I had nothing. 3 jobs in less than a year. Every time I faced an obstacle, I jumped ship, thinking I was moving forward. But in truth, I was just swimming in circles, more exhausted, poorer, and slowly losing faith in myself. 90% of startups fail not because the idea is bad, but because the founders quit before 18 months. It's not that they lack opportunities, but that they lack the patience to turn opportunities into results. This is the law of power. Whoever endures the longest winter will reap the entire spring. And this law applies to everything: business, career, relationships, even personal transformation. Before you dream about a new opportunity, ask, have I fully exhausted what I already have? If the answer is no, the problem is not your circumstances, the problem is you. Because the castle of power is not built on new beginnings, but on complete endings. And only when you dare to close the fortress gates and stand firm through every attack will you be worthy of the throne. And right after this, I will show you the number 1 mistake, the very thing that kills 90% of the ambitious before they ever lay eyes on the prize. Mistake 1. The habit of quitting early. They call it the valley of death. I call it the graveyard of those who once had potential. You know this feeling. You start something new, full of excitement. A new job, a new project, a new love. Everything is covered in a golden glow. You believe this time will be different. This time will be the turning point. That's the state of blind optimism. Uninformed optimism. Then reality hits. Sales stall. The assignments get harder. Your partner reveals their darker side. Nothing flows smoothly anymore. Excitement turns into doubt. You ask yourself, maybe I made the wrong choice. This is informed pessimism, and this is where most people fall. 70% of startups die in less than 2 years. Not because the idea is bad, but because the founders can't handle the pressure. They turn back at the first shadow of difficulty, leaving all their effort behind. I used to be one of them. When my first startup started slowing down, I didn't try to patch the ship. I jumped to an easier opportunity. 6 months later, I lost both. The old project was dead. The new one hadn't even come to life. And my faith in myself hit rock bottom. The human brain is addicted to novelty. Starting something new is like injecting a powerful dose of dopamine, the feeling that you're making progress. But every time you change direction, you reset your progress clock back to 0. In war, Napoleon and Alexander didn't win by avoiding the hard battles. They won by standing long enough to grind down the enemy's will. The same is true in business. Jeff Bezos endured 7 years of losses before Amazon turned a profit. If he had quit in year 3, Amazon would have faded into obscurity. The problem isn't that you're weak, it's your frustration tolerance, your ability to endure discomfort and delayed results. You quit the gym after a month because you still don't have a six-pack. You stop your business in the third month because there's no profit yet. You drop a foreign language because progress feels too slow. You become a professional starter and an amateur finisher. Want to escape this loop? Pick one action to do every day, no matter your mood. Record every win, no matter how small. Stay consistent for 90 days, 180 days, even a full year before judging yourself. And once you've chosen your battle, stay until the very end. Leave only when every option is exhausted. You don't lose because you lack ability. You lose because you leave the battlefield while you still have troops to fight. Spring only comes to those strong enough to make it through the winter. And the valley of death, where 90% quit, is the only gate that leads to the reward you seek. But even if you pass through it, there is still another enemy, far more dangerous, that holds the rest of the survivors captive, and it's something you're carrying inside your own head. Mistake 2. Addiction to seeking approval. There are prisons without high walls, without bars, without guards. This prison is built from the glances and the opinions of others. I was locked inside it for many years. Every decision, big or small, waited for someone's nod. I wore the clothes others thought suited me, took the job my family called stable, stayed quiet at parties so I wouldn't be labeled arrogant. And ironically, I believed I was doing the right thing. But the brutal truth is this: a person living on borrowed belief will collapse the day others take it back. At 25, I had a decent job in a small town. Enough income to live, coffee on weekends, dinner with family every month. It sounded peaceful, but I was suffocating inside my comfort zone. One night, I searched for jobs in California. That city felt like another planet. Energy, opportunity, challenge. I didn't know anyone there. I had only $50 in savings and a vague belief that I had to go. The day I said I was moving, the advice poured in. Are you crazy? It's so expensive there. Who's going to hire you? At least here you have connections. What if you fail? How will you come back? A week later, I was surrounded by seeds of doubt planted by people I knew. But this time, I wasn't looking for a nod. I only asked myself, what would the person I want to become do? And the answer was clear: go. Most of the people you seek approval from have never lived the life you want. They've never stepped into the territory you aim for. You're handing a map to the ocean to someone who's never left the village and expecting them to guide you. The result of asking too many people? You stay still, afraid to upset this person, afraid to disappoint that one. You justify your delay with the words, "Let's wait a bit longer." But most of their advice doesn't come from experience. It comes from fear. They fear failure, loss, judgment, and they pass that fear on to you, wrapping it in the phrase, "I'm just looking out for you." In politics, a weak leader listens to everyone and gets pulled in 10 directions. A strong leader filters voices, hearing only those with capability and aligned interests. Your life needs the same principle. Only listen to those who are living the life you want. Imagine having a council of 5 ideal future versions of yourself. Wealthier, wiser, braver. Every time you make a decision, ask, what would they choose? And once a month, make at least one important decision without telling anyone beforehand. Not to hide it, but to train your confidence in your own instincts. When I arrived in California, it was as tough as they said: high rent. My first job was waiting tables, and my savings vanished in months. But I had no regrets. For the first time, I felt it clearly. I was steering my own ship. No asking permission, no waiting for approval. Success or failure, every fingerprint on it was mine. And that is the foundation of real confidence. If everyone agrees with your decision, chances are it's too safe to change your life. Great choices are always controversial. because they break expectations and challenge the beaten path. The only approval you need is your own. If you keep asking for permission, you'll live forever in the prison others built. But if you dare to unlock it yourself, you'll realize freedom is never given. It only appears when you claim it. And here's the cruel part. Even if you've escaped this prison, there's still something else, quieter yet far more dangerous. That causes 99% of people to fail before they even begin. That something is how they invest, and the mistake they make from the very first dollar. Mistake 3, not investing in yourself first. There's a paradox I've seen repeated over and over in those who fail. They're willing to pour thousands of dollars into stocks, crypto, real estate, but hesitate to spend even a fraction of that on building their own skills, intellect, and experience. They want high returns, yet ignore the only investment they can fully control: themselves. When I first started out in business, I knew nothing. No capital, no connections, no knowledge. The only thing I understood was this: if I became better, the value I created would be greater, and the money would come on its own. So every dollar I earned, I poured back into learning. Books, courses, seminars, lunches with people more skilled than me. I refused the things others saw as necessary. No new clothes, no new phone, no spending to look successful. Because I realized, an expensive watch won't help you close a big deal. A new suit won't solve a complex problem. But a sharp skill, negotiation, sales, writing, leadership, can change your income and your status. I once saw someone spend 2-0 learning copywriting. 6 months later, that skill was bringing in 50-0 a year and growing every year after. If he had put that same 2-0 into the market, he'd be lucky to make a few $100s. In history, the most influential people didn't buy power, they forged it. Benjamin Franklin, in his youth, spent most of his time and money mastering printing, science, and diplomacy. I chose a principle: 70% for skills and knowledge, 20% for environment, surrounding myself with people better than me, 10% for outside investments. Investing in yourself doesn't always bear fruit immediately. Once, I spent a large sum on a course and didn't apply it for over a year. But when I finally did, the value it created far exceeded the cost. The problem is, most people want instant results, so they quit before their knowledge has a chance to bloom. I used to live on a tight budget, yet I spent everything to attend a seminar just to meet people I admired. That seminar didn't pay me instantly, but the relationships and mindset I gained opened the door to a major deal, one I would never have gotten by saving money at home. Investing in yourself turns you into an asset too valuable to ignore. The market can crash, companies can go bankrupt, but your skills and intellect cannot be taken away. You carry them wherever you go, and they keep producing returns. I've seen many people make decent money, but instead of upgrading themselves, they try to double it through risky investments. When they lose both the money and the chance to improve themselves. If you haven't built a steady income from your skills, every other investment is just gambling. To me, I am the only stock I can directly increase in value. Every time I gain a new skill, make a high-quality connection, or improve my problem-solving ability, my share price goes up. And when it's high enough, every industry will pay what I'm worth. When you become too valuable to be overlooked, opportunities will come to you. You won't have to beg or wait. You will be the opportunity. No one has ever become great solely by being good at investing in stocks or real estate, but every great person has been the #1 investor in themselves first. And here's the harsh truth. Even if you invest in yourself the right way, just one wrong step, listening to the wrong person, can destroy it all. In the next part, I'll show you why 80% of the most painful failures come from the free advice you've been given. Mistake 4. Listening to people who aren't qualified. If you had a heart condition, you wouldn't let someone who's never studied medicine hold a scalpel over you. Yet strangely, when it comes to money, the very thing that determines freedom and power, most people listen to those who've never earned the amount they dream of. I used to live that way. When I first started in business, I took every strategy from relatives, friends, co-workers. They told me not to borrow money, not to take risks, not to do anything too new. They spoke with such certainty as if they had led dozens of successful companies. The truth? Most of them had never stepped outside their comfort zone. If I had listened, I'd still be sitting in an average office today, working 8 hours a day for a dream that wasn't mine. I remember a sentence that changed the way I saw everything. Your circle is your ceiling. If you only surround yourself with people who earn 50 a year, you'll naturally assume that's enough. If you live where 100 a year is considered the peak, you'll unconsciously limit yourself to that. I realized this when I left my small town for the big city. Here, the people I met treated making $1 million a year as normal. They talked about business and investing the way others talk about the weather. Just by being near them, I started to think differently. $100,000 was no longer the peak, just a rest stop. I remember standing at a downtown networking event. I was the youngest, the least wealthy. At first, I felt small. But the more I listened, the more I understood. The biggest difference wasn't in the bank account, it was in the standards. For them, making $1 million wasn't dreaming big. It was the entry fee to play the game. If you can't directly surround yourself with wealthy people, do it indirectly. Read their books, listen to their podcasts, watch their videos, join their online communities. Pay to learn, to be near them, even if it's just for a 1-hour consultation or a single seminar. I once volunteered for a successful entrepreneur without pay, just to study how he thought and acted. The value I gained far exceeded any paycheck I'd ever earned. The principle I learned: no advice is better than bad advice, especially when the person giving it isn't qualified. Cold? Maybe. But it saved me from dozens of bad decisions. Every piece of advice that comes from limited experience will, unintentionally, box your thinking into their limits. And once you accept those limits, you voluntarily set the ceiling for your own life. The world isn't short on people willing to give you free advice, but the cost of listening to the wrong person can be your entire life. The day I stopped listening to unqualified people, everything changed. I sought out those with real results, studied how they thought. I dropped the habit of asking the crowd. Instead, I asked, who has done this successfully? And went straight to them. Machiavelli once advised rulers, choose ministers better than yourself, for they will lift the entire court higher. Your life works the same way. The circle around you is the council deciding your future. Choose so that each person in it is a master in their field, and every word they speak pushes you closer to the throne. And then, even if you're listening to the right people, there's still something more dangerous, something right next to you every day that can destroy everything you've built. It's not the competition, it's not the market, it's the very person you share a bed with or share a contract table with. Mistake 5, choosing the wrong partner or spouse. On the chessboard of power, nothing is more dangerous than someone who shares your bed while quietly sinking your ship. You can face competitors. You can withstand the market. You can survive a crisis. But if the person closest to you plants doubt in every thought and plan, you've already lost before the battle begins. I once watched an outstanding employee, someone I believed would become a millionaire, collapse simply because he loved the wrong person. His partner didn't believe in the value of money, thought working hard was greedy, planted the idea in his head that success would make him a bad person. 6 months later, he turned down a major project, passed on a promotion, avoided key meetings. A year later, he quit his job, saying he wanted to live slowly. But everyone knew he was shrinking himself to fit the frame of someone else. Money is not just money. Money is power. Power brings freedom. To someone insecure within themselves, your freedom is a threat. When you have more options, they fear the day you might choose not to choose them. In that fear, they begin, consciously or unconsciously, to clip your wings. But history also shows the opposite. Caesar and Cleopatra, when their powers combined, amplified their influence to the point where the whole world had to take notice. The right partner or business ally will be a force that pushes, not pulls. They will make you dare more, think bigger, and refuse to let you lower your standards. To protect your future, stress test the people close to you. Do they support your long-term goals, even when it makes the present inconvenient? Are they truly happy when you succeed, or just pretending? Do they encourage you to take strategic risks, or always pull you back to safety? Do they actively grow themselves, or stay stagnant and want you to stay too? When you talk about big dreams, do they say, go for it, or stop dreaming? If more than half of the answers lean negative, you are next to someone who is pulling your future backward. I once had to make a painful decision, a long relationship, full of memories. But I realized this person feared my growth. Every time I succeeded, they found a way to minimize it. Every time I wanted to try something new, they spoke of risks. Not to protect me, but to hold me back. In the end, I understood. Staying with this person meant I would have to shrink myself. So I walked away. True freedom is not just having the right to choose, but being able to live that choice without the closest person sabotaging it. The right companion will make the journey less lonely. The wrong one will turn every step forward into a battle. In the game of building wealth and power, choosing the wrong spouse or partner can cost you more than any bad investment. Machiavelli once warned, a ruler must be most cautious of those closest to them. And here's the bottom line. You can overcome any enemy, any market, but if you cannot overcome the toxic relationships closest to you, you will never reach the summit. In the next part, I'll give you the action formula that will separate you from the masses forever and put you into the playing field of those who cannot be broken. I've seen far too many people lock the very door that leads to their own power, not because they lacked opportunity, not because they lacked luck, but because they chose the easier road. They quit before reaching the best part of the story. They lived under the judgment of others' eyes instead of the light from within. They bet on the market, on luck, but never on themselves. They sought advice from people who had never gone further than they had. And worse, they handed their fate to those afraid of seeing them strong. That is the formula for staying at the bottom, for waking up each morning, looking in the mirror, and seeing a duller version of yourself. But there is another formula. It's harsher, lonelier, yet it will take you to the top without fail. You do not quit, even when your arms shake and your breath is ragged. You act by your own standards, even when everyone opposes you. You turn every dollar into an investment in skill and resilience, because the market can crash, but your value cannot. You take advice only from those who have built castles, and you choose to stand beside people who make you more dangerous, not those who want you safe. Do this, and you'll step into a different tier of the world. Up there, the rules change. You don't chase opportunities. Opportunities chase you. You don't fight for a seat. They prepare a seat for you. You don't convince anyone of your worth. Your worth is as obvious as the sun. But here's the truth, no one tells you. This path will be lonely. Not because you want it that way, but because few can handle the altitude. The thin air will make those without the courage quietly leave you. And that's a good thing, because the summit has no room for crowds. Machiavelli once wrote, "A ruler must learn to be both loved and feared. But if you must choose, choose to be feared. Because when you are too strong to be defeated, respect will find you on its own. And when that happens, you won't just be rich, you'll be untouchable." If you're hearing these words right now, ask yourself, today, which formula will you choose? The easy formula or the formula that takes you to the top? Don't answer me. Don't answer anyone. Answer with the way you live once this screen goes dark. If you truly choose the hard road, the road of one who does not quit, does not ask permission, does not wait, and does not tolerate those who make them weaker, leave a mark. Write 3 words below. I'm ready. Not so I can see it, not so others can see it, but so you can swear it to yourself. From that moment, the game will never be the same. And the world will have to learn to face a version of you more dangerous, more unshakable, and impossible to defeat.